From Vintage Factory headquarters in downtown St. Louis, Missouri, it's the First Turn Podcast with your host, Andrew Steger.
And then so 95, you competed in the 500cc against Joel Smith, a couple other big names. So they were all on the four strokes. Was it the Husaberg? Is that right?
Yes. Joel was on the Husaberg, KTM bought Husaberg 2 months before that season started.
Okay. Yeah. And so you came to the table a little, some that would see it may think a little undergun. I think it was right on time. Correct me if I'm wrong. That was a KTM 360.
Yeah, it was actually a 358, the bike that I rode, and we turned it into a 4-speed transmission, trying to eliminate some of the gears in it, just to have a little less weight, a little less rotating mass down there. And man, the thing was absolutely amazing. So first gear got eliminated completely. Second was my first gear, and then the bike worked so good when they would allow it to work.
Okay. Well, I tell you what I saw. So after watching a highlight reel, I feel like you had some bad luck on the bike side, which I'll let you explain. We'll get into that. But from what I saw between you and Joel Smits, anytime you were on the track, I feel like you had everybody covered, and that KTM was singing. It sounded good, everything about it. And then at the end, like you said, bike failure, ended up coming in runner-up. Give us your take on that season.
Well, at that time, I was one of those guys that was so confident that I could win at any given moment. And I always said I would win the 125, 250, and 500 world championships. That's why I went over there. I wanted to do the hat trick of all three of them. That year, I should have done it. When we was setting the contract up at the beginning of the year, I told them, I said, we'll do everything on bonuses. I said, yeah, y'all don't owe me any money up front. I said, I want to make the bonuses so big that I'll make a lot of money, because in my mind and in my heart, I knew no one could outrun me. And I knew that no one was going to outwork me. But unfortunately, 2 months before the season started, KTM bought Husaberg. And then that's when everything kind of went south. Every time I would start getting in the lead of the world championship, my mechanic would call and he'd tell me, he said, they're not allowing me to go this weekend. They're sending Giovanni. Be careful. And the first time I really didn't understand what was going on until they had loosened up one of the bolts in the fork broke in half at Luxembourg while I was leading. And it ended up I'm not going to say nearly killing me, but it broke a collarbone, a shoulder blade, and a couple of ribs, and knocked me unconscious for I don't know how long. But and then 2 weeks later, I had to ride in those conditions, which I was still in the championship hunt. And then they had another bike failure where when we pulled the cover off the ignition, you could see where they had hacksawed the shaft almost halfway in two and in the ignition. So it was just a sabotage. So I couldn't win the title. They didn't want to pay the money, and then they wanted that new 4-stroke to win that they had just bought two months earlier.
Which really wasn't, in my opinion, in the game, from what I saw. But
no,
yeah.
And but they did it wasn't just me. They messed with a lot of the Americans that went over there. They did not want you to win the world championship. Going back to 1991, every time there was a drug test, my name was randomly picked. Out of 9 Italian championships, I was picked 9 times for drug test. Out of the 12 rounds of the world championship, I was randomly picked 6 times for drug test. So I was so scared to put anything in my body. All I would do was drink water because I knew I was going to be drug tested every single time. And the good thing about it was was we had a doctor that was with me always. So every time I went in for my drug test, the doctor would come in with me. And that way, when we peed in the cup, we made sure everything was sealed and stuff. And it was just you got used to it. They did everything they could to keep you from winning.